Welcome back. As we said in our intro, we are going to take a look at the very important meetings which took place yesterday when Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati received the South Sudanese Minister of Industry and his counterparts from Somalia and Eritrea. To shed more light on the meetings and the importance of them and the issues which were tackled, the agreements which were agreed upon regarding efforts exerted to maintain stability and security in the Horn of Africa and in the African continent in general. We are very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Medhat Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to you.
Sir, let's start with the water issue, because it was really very much important to listen well to the messages which were said during the speech of Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati after meeting with his South Sudanese counterpart, speaking about the Egyptian full rejection of any unilateral decision to be taken regarding the water resources of the Nile Basin countries in specific, as this is a national security issue. How do you see the comments of Abdulati and the crucial timing of the visit?
Well, first of all, the water issue have always been a very pressing issue in the statements of any Egyptian top diplomats, whether we're talking about His Excellency Minister Badr Abdulati or any other previous minister, ever since this problem erupted. This is not a matter of tactics or even simple strategic issues. This is a matter of life and death for the Egyptian people, for over 110 million persons. So the idea of Mr. Badr Abdulati and other ministers is always stress on the importance of regulating the Renaissance Dam built in Ethiopia. We are not against, as it has been stipulated in many negotiations and even by His Excellency the President himself, that we are not against the wishes and the desires of African countries and water basin countries to develop their economy and develop their future regarding water resources. But what is important for us is to regulate this in order not to harm any other countries that are also benefiting from this cross-border river. So the idea here is reiterating on the Egyptian position, which is consisting on two basic things. The first one is the peaceful way of settling this disagreement or conflict on the River Nile. And the second one is a fair distribution of the water wealth in the region and not to affect any country by any unilateral policies made by one country or the other.
Also, sir, one of the most important issues which was discussed yesterday in this with the three ministers, security and stability in the African continent and particularly in the Horn of Africa and Sahel region. Talking about security is talking about the lives of people. It's talking about investment, economy. It's talking about every aspect of life, because without security, without stability, no economy can achieve any kind of progress. How do you see the importance of security and stability and linking it with development?
I think this tripartite meeting, summit that were held yesterday, it shows to a high degree the importance of the Red Sea for those coastal countries. And I think one of the most important things that were issued during the meeting was the declaration of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, Dr. Badr Abdulati, when he specifically emphasized on that the security of the Red Sea depends on the will of the coastal states and the coastal states only. And this is limited to them, and not to accept any military presence in this area without the total agreement of the other countries. I think this is a baseline now that we can work on it from ever. We all understand that there are other countries who are trying to interfere with the security and the safety of the Red Sea. And since they are non-littoral or non-coastal countries, they were not supposed to interfere in the security of the Red Sea, and we have to preventing those countries from seeking to undermine the bonds of peace and stability in this very important region due to its control over the world supply chains and the capabilities of more than half of the world's exports and imports through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. So this was a baseline that was set yesterday by His Excellency Dr. Badr Abdulati, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to emphasize the importance of the non-participation of non-coastal countries in any steps regarding the security.
Very well said, sir. The difference between intervention into other countries' local affairs and supporting our allies and our brotherly nations in achieving security and stability. Of course, there's such a great difference between this and that. And as one of the models, we have the tripartite, let's say, press conference, which took place after the tripartite talks, which took place yesterday. They spoke about Somalia, for example, and they agreed on the importance of achieving the Somalian unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, in addition to protecting its national institutions, and underline this word, national institutions, with hundreds of words, because this is the way to achieve this sustainable stability, if I may call it this way. If you want to elaborate on that.
Well, you are totally correct about this, and this is not actually the first time. I mean, we heard the same exact wording which show the Egyptian commitment on the security of the whole region. If you remember, during the visit of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, to Eritrea in October 2024, when he stressed on the thing, if you remember, this was a visit to Eritrea that was later on joined by the President of Somalia.
Yeah.
And during this, and once again during the tripartite summit that was held yesterday in Egypt, I think that all the three leaders were concerned about the security of the Horn of Africa region and the tensions and unrest until, for the whole region. This means actually that we have to work on strengthening the relations and the strategic partnership, and not just as a need, but actually as a necessity to the security of the region. Egypt the Egyptian state is keen on restore stability and understand the involvement that has to be taken into consideration by deepening the Egyptian presence and involvement with the other countries of the region to contribute to the return of the security of the Red Sea, and even to understanding the repercussions of the absence of the security on the Suez Canal, of course, in addition to the alliance led by Egypt that enabled to protect our interests and national security and water security.
And what happened yesterday was a continuation of other talks which took place earlier when His Excellency Foreign Minister Abdulati was in Asmara, in Eritrea. So we are building on what we have achieved before. We are not starting from scratch.
Exactly, and actually the other countries, and mainly I'm speaking about Eritrea and Somalia, they're expecting a strengthening of the economic relations and partnerships, especially in the field of trade and other economic issues, and they want to develop their trade relation with Egypt, especially in the field of agriculture, exports,
and
and
infrastructure, because it was really said more than once, by the way, sir, I'm sorry for the interruption, that Egypt is ready to exchange expertise in these fields. Egypt achieved a lot when it comes to the field of infrastructure, when it comes to the development process in various domains.
I was coming to that because actually
sure.
One of the things that were mentioned is to attract Egyptian investments in those fields specifically, because these are the fields that require high investments, and only Egypt is the country who can provide these countries with what they need in those fields. Having said this, I think that we are talking about several fields, economic fields between the three countries, whether we are talking about trade and economics or even electrical connection and other. Most importantly is to work on what can enhance the relations between the countries of the Horn of Africa, and this will be and is led by Egypt, especially that the Egyptian foreign policy is always based on a number of principles that are centered around mutual respect, good neighborliness, non-interference in internal affairs, and resolving disputes always through peaceful means. And this is what makes Egypt a very important and strategic partner to these countries that can rely on the Egyptian support to help them whether to develop their countries economically or to regain its security internally. Let's not forget that these countries are faced by several terrorist threats, especially, for instance, in Somalia with the Shabab al-Mujahideen and other fractions of radical Islam that are embedded in...
And those have nothing to do with Islam, sir. Sir, you know, what you have just said, I should comment on that, because when you repeated the word Egypt, I felt that I should say that this is Egypt for thousands of years. I mean, since our Queen Hatshepsut did it thousands of years ago, sending expeditions to Bunt countries now located in this very same region. This is our way of saying that we are going all the time to give a hand to our allies and to be with the development track in any country, and particularly with the African ones, because it's our strategic depth. We started this thousands of years ago, and I think only Egypt did so.
Exactly, and actually, in short, if we may just sum it up for our viewers, I think that this summit that is produced by Egypt and Somalia and the Eritrean is to be considered as a valuable step towards strengthening an alliance and a partnership in the Horn of Africa. The Horn of Africa is the most important region on the Red Sea coast. Mm-hmm. And achieving those common interests toward the return of stability, calm, economic prosperity, and development between these three countries can help not just those countries, but to help the whole world and international community. Because, as I said, the Red Sea safety and security foster on the relations also with other countries outside of the region. And it's very important to secure this area, and it can only be secured through the cooperation between its coastal countries and only its coastal countries, without any interference from any other outsider from the region.
Sir, yesterday, as I said in my intro, there were a lot of messages sent by this joint press conference and by the visit of those African ministers to Egypt. I may call it the diplomacy of economics, because His Excellency Foreign Minister Badr Abdel-Ati is keen to say that this is going to take a big share of our foreign policy. Maybe it was taking place all over the years, decades, and even centuries, but now to say that he is going to focus in all his meetings with his counterparts coming from all over the world or in his visits abroad on our mutual investment, trade and economic ties, focusing on what we call diplomacy of economics or economic diplomacy. Would you please, sir, I'd like you to elaborate on that.
Well, as you just said it, His Excellency Minister Abdulati stressed on Egypt's keenness to strengthen this partnership with Eritrea, with Somalia. We are already involved. Let's not forget that Egypt is already involved with Somalia, for instance, in the peacekeeping forces and the Blue Beret, as we call them, through the United Nations. And Egypt is one of the countries that is largely contributing to the peace. So beside the political aspect and the military aspect of the Egyptian presence in this area, we have also what Mr. Abdulati has mentioned about Egypt's keenness to strengthen the partnership with those countries and to joint work to achieve interests that will benefit the people of the three countries, as well as Egypt's keenness also to support all African issues and consolidate the pillars of security and stability in the region. And this is what will contribute not only, as I said, to the stability of those countries, but to strengthening the African solidarity at large. So I think that this meeting was very important into once again reassure the world community that Egypt and the other important players of the Horn of Africa are working on achieving better security for the maritime roads, for the Suez Canal safety, for the Red Sea peace, especially that, let's not forget that at a certain point all boats were threatened by Somalian pirates and so on. This situation is not there and does not represent any
And when
threat.
we focus on the development process, we are also fighting extremism and terrorism, because simply we cannot get rid of the terrorism phenomena only with the security solutions, but with development also, with the developmental projects. This can be part of the solution, or even a bigger part of the solution, if you agree with me on that.
Exactly, I totally agree, because enhancing the capacity and the capabilities of those countries, especially in Somalia, in how to enhance its capacity and capabilities in protecting its border and eliminating terrorism and extending their sovereignty over all their territories. I think this is a key issue in order to regain stability in the region. And that's why, and there is no country that is better positioned than Egypt, who faced terrorism and managed to combat it and managed to defeat it, to give its expertise to those countries in order to combat terrorism within their own states as well. So the idea is not just economic, although the part of it and the large chunk of it is economically important, but also politically and military, and with the presence of Egyptian experts, this can help those countries to regain their stability. And as I said, there is no country that is better placed than Egypt to tackle those issues.
And there is also a boost or a leap even in the cultural and socio relations between Egypt and other African allies. I mean, the soft power, media, you name it. Because I cannot say that those sides of the coin are less important. I think they are equally important. If you want to elaborate on that too, sir.
Of course, as you have seen, the ministers agreed to enhance the diplomatic coordination between the three countries, and among those, of course, all various aspects of what this word diplomatic relations mean, whether we are talking culturally, educationally, even religiously. Let's not forget the role of Al-Azhar that is played into show the moderate figure of Islam in the Sunni world. And I believe that all these soft powers that Egypt possesses can help and will definitely help to give the people of those countries a better future to look at. I believe that the cooperation between those two countries is very important, not just for the region, but also for us in Egypt, who are looking for a security of the Red Sea. We have faced some problems in the past due to our negligence to the African issues during the earlier era of the presidency. But ever since His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi took power, and he focused very much on regaining the historical relations between Egypt and the African countries, especially the one that represent a strategic importance to Egypt, such as the River Nile basin countries and the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea countries.
Ambassador Medhat Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. Right after the short break, I'm going to turn back with more, so stay tuned.